And welcome to Capital Talk, a program we hope will have an impact on the future of Kenya. Now, especially this week, more than ever, I'm Jeff Koinange. Why this week? Well, you know, Friday, August the 27th, the big day, Kenya's second liberation, the birth of a new Kenya, the promulgation, love that word, is taking part on Friday. And all this week, we're talking to Kenyans who I'd say have been part of this whole struggle. People who know what they're talking about. People who, whether they've been on the bench before or not, I tell you, they inspire us in one way or another. You saw Betty Murungi yesterday. Today, another beauty with brains. Worked for 23 years in the diplomatic service, foreign service. 23 for the United Nations in New York and in Geneva. She was Kenya's permanent representative. She knows her way around the diplomatic circles. Came back in 2006, worked for foreign affairs for a while, and then was transferred to the Ministry of Justice, Constitutional Affairs and National Cohesion, where she's been, and she was working on this document, and she brought me a copy of the official constitution. I tell you, this one is a souvenir. I'm gonna have her autograph it because I'm gonna want my children to have this in the library at home, because this is the document we've all been waiting for. And she, last time she was on the bench, she was so passionate, saying how important, how useful, how this document was going to change our lives. She's back on the week of the promulgation to tell us how it feels. On the bench, like I said, beauty and brains, Ambassador Amina Mohamed. Ambassador.
Oh, thank you, my goodness.
I like to make my guests blush. That's what it is. And it's working.
I almost did.
You almost did?
I almost did, yeah.
Okay. How you doing? Congratulations, because you know, last time you were here, you guys were working literally endlessly to make this document a reality. And it is. How does it feel?
Good. Very good. Very good, yeah. I think that our nation had a rendezvous with history on the 4th of August. And I think we rose to the occasion and made our country proud. I think the referendum that was carried out on the 4th of August guaranteed the place of this generation of Kenyans in the history books. It also entrenched our democratic credentials. We all fought for what we believed to be right. And so you had almost 69% voting yes and 31.5%, I think, voting no. And I think that's a very, very healthy result for a referendum. You must understand that it wasn't supposed to be a unanimous vote. And I think it was clearly understood by both sides that the side that lost would have to go along with the side that won. So if the no had won, then of course today we would not be talking about the promulgation of a new constitution. Since the yes won, the no will come along and support us in implementing this constitution. The constitution is for everybody. It's for Kenyans alive today and for those that will be born long after we're gone. Okay? And as I told you last time, this is the best that we could have done under the current circumstances. It doesn't mean that 10 generations from today, Kenyans won't feel that they need to make some changes to the document. But for today, for now, this is really the best that we could have done. Yeah. And I'm extremely, I think all of us should be proud of our people.
Yeah.
I think that they acted in a most dignified manner.
Yes. Ambassador, you were telling me earlier on that you're still pinching yourself, trying to, you know, telling yourself, did we really pass this? Is this a reality? Is that true?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a long road. It's been a journey that has, has been quite difficult actually. It's been more challenging for others than it has been for me, for instance. There were those that lost their lives along the way. There were those that got maimed. There were those that probably won't even be able to join us in celebrating the promulgation because they're homebound and can't come out as a result of some of the pain that was inflicted on them. So yes, it's been a really long struggle, and I think it's a day to remember everybody, especially those who voted, but everybody else who contributed in any way to ensuring that we actually were able to entrench our democratic credentials on that day and to move to the next phase of our development agenda.
Yeah, I'll get to the next phase in a moment, Ambassador, but the fact that there was 69% for and 31% against, like you mentioned, it's healthy for democracy. This has exorcised the ghosts of 07, 08, hasn't it?
That's true. That's true. It has. It has. We are at the beginning of exercising that ghost. We are not there yet. I think that having a constitution in place, right, and ensuring that everything actually works are two different things. So we still have to implement this constitution. We still must make sure that we put in place the right legislation, the right frameworks, the right mechanisms. We put the right people in the right commissions, for instance, to ensure that these commissions actually deliver for Kenyans. Because I think Wanjiku decided very clearly on the 4th of August that she wanted this constitution and that she wanted it implemented very quickly. She wants things fast-tracked so that she can reap those benefits that the constitution promises her in her own lifetime, in real time, okay? So that she doesn't have to wait for 10, 20 years to see the fast benefits of the work that she did on the 4th of August. Yeah. And it was tremendous work because, believe me, some of the stories that were out there as we went around the country trying to expose the Constitution to Kenyans and carry out public dialogue forums in places, we realized that there had been quite a bit of misinformation. And so for Wanjiku to rise above that misinformation, right, and vote for the Constitution must have taken her tremendous effort, really tremendous effort. And this is because she wanted to make sure that the country changed. Yeah. Not just changed for her, but for her children and her grandchildren, so that they don't have to go through the struggles that she went through, so that they have the opportunities that they should have as Kenyans. And she wanted to make sure that the youth that are around her were taken care of. Yeah. So basically, she voted for change. She voted for almost a revolution. Yeah? The changes that the Constitution promises are so far-reaching that the face of the country will change along with the people in the country. Yeah. We will all change.
You mentioned those who were not able to see this day, and it's an historic day, no doubt. Yesterday was the 7th anniversary of Michael Kijana Wamalwa's death. The Jaramogis of this were Masinde Moleros, people who we've literally forgotten, like Kenneth Matiba, who's still alive, but people have literally forgotten him despite his contribution, and the Ken Rubias. Would they be proud of this day? Would they be proud of what we've done?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that they will be part of this day because this is what many of them struggled for. This is what they wanted to see. So they will be there with us. For those who are dead, I'm sure that they'll be there in spirit with us. But also we will have to remember them on that day and pay tribute to them and acknowledge their contribution and give them recognition for it. Because, whoever forgets their past, right?
We're bound to repeat it.
Absolutely. So we have to remember everybody and every contribution that was made towards, this end result that we have today. And the suffering, as they say, the end justifies the means. Yeah? There was a lot of suffering, but I think that sometimes every suffering is worth the result that you get. And hopefully, even when we are not here, future generations will remember everybody that came before them and the contributions they made. That's what makes a country great. Yeah. That's really what makes a country great. If you look at all the great countries in the world, you'll see that they honor their past heroes. They honor anybody who made any significant contribution to their country, to their development, to their history. Yeah? And I think we must learn to do that, so that we don't repeat the mistakes of the past. But also, I think people need to be recognized, for the effort that they put in. Yeah. And we must be magnanimous and do that. And I think that the culture we've had of only thinking of ourselves and being selfish will not help us in the long run. I think we really need to appreciate everybody, every single Kenyan, and every contribution that they make. Yeah. Whether it's the mama mboga on the streets, or it's the mortuary attendant, or it's the midwife in a place like Pumwani that always gets really bad press, I think we must just acknowledge everybody. Yeah.
And everyone I speak to at the Justice and National Cohesion Ministry, they all say Ambassador Amina Mohamed was really leading from the front. You took the civic education, you went out there from the ground up, place after place, village after village. I mean, you guys worked hard.
Oh, it was a team effort. I mean, and I think we discussed this before. One individual can't really, you could probably make some changes, but you really can't contribute so much. But if you work together as a team, you're able to move mountains. Yeah? And we worked as a team, not just the ministry, but with support from UNDP, for instance. We were able to get in consultants, legal professionals, and people who actually were experts either in constitutional law, human rights, devolution, land. Okay, so as we went out there, we were actually able to respond to the concerns of the Mwananchi. We were able to answer their questions, yeah? And they asked tough questions because some had been misinformed, but many had actually read the document. They'd taken time to read the document, and so they asked us really tough questions, and we had a very interesting, interactive dialogue in all the places that we went. I came away from each one of them, those that I attended, feeling really satisfied and thinking that yes, this was the right way to actually contribute to this process. Yeah. Make sure that everybody comes along with you, right? That nobody is left behind. And that's why we have decided that we're going to continue the civic education after the promulgation. We'll take a bit of time to put our initial bills in place, and we've started working on some of them. But after that, we intend to continue with the civic education, because people must not think that we went there to just convince them, right, to vote for the Constitution, and then as soon as it's promulgated, we actually forget, that they need to continue being educated and being informed on the Constitution, because they each have to make a contribution to the implementation of the Constitution. In addition to that, for most of the laws, you'll need to actually go down to the people and hold hearings and listen to them. They must participate in governance. They really have to. Do you know that for the first time in our country, the public will have direct access, right, to Parliament? So they will be able to participate and to get involved in all the processes that will be taking place in Parliament directly.
So if they don't like what's going on,
they'll participate. They'll make sure that their views are taken into account. They will be able to attend parliamentary sittings and debates. Okay, the same thing at the county level. They'll be able to attend meetings. They'll be able to get involved directly. It's the first time it's happening. Before you elected somebody and that was your representative, and then you had no access to what was going on in Parliament. Yeah. And if you raised any issues about it, you'd be told, oh, but you elected somebody who is your representative there, right? But now, the public would have access to Parliament. And what that will allow them to do is to actually check on whether these representatives that they elected are first performing well, and whether the agenda that they were elected on, right, is actually being, if not implemented, at least if it's not being pushed and advanced in Parliament. Yeah. The same thing at the county level. They'll be able to check their governors, their senators, to make sure that they're actually doing what they're supposed to be doing. And at the end of the day, if they feel dissatisfied, they will recall them.
Wow. Ambassador, I want to talk more about that. That's fascinating, and I hope people are listening, because they're going to be involved. This is their constitution. I want to talk about the promulgation. What's going to happen that day? Are you excited? Do you feel great about this day? And also more about the implementation and the way forward. First, we'll take a break. Wow, what was that line? Kenya had a rendezvous with history. Whoa! Ambassador Amina Mohamed, PS, Justice, Constitutional Affairs, and National Cohesion Ministry. She knows what she's talking about. She spent so many years abroad, but came back at the right time, at the right place. Now, we have another date with history this coming Friday, the promulgation. And the ambassador's waxing lyrical. And she's brought a copy of the Constitution for us. Don't even think of going away. Beauty and Brains is back in a moment. And welcome back to Capital Talk. What a week we are having, and it's only Tuesday. Beauty, brain, smart folks, Kenyans who love this country, patriots to the core. And with the promulgation, the birth of the new republic this coming Friday, we're talking to the smartest of all. Yes, all this week on the bench, Ambassador Amina Mohamed. This woman has contributed so much to this country, not only abroad in the foreign service, 23 years at the Ministries of Foreign Affairs, and now PS, Justice, Constitutional Affairs, National Cohesion. It was her brainchild, this one. She babied this. She took it all the way. All the civic education, teaching people, learning with people. She was out there on the ground with ear and nose to the ground. And now we're staring at history with a good ambassador. Sit back! Promulgation day.
Yeah, we're actually staring at history, you're right.
We are, aren't we?
History in the making.
Is this exciting? Are you excited?
Yes, I am. Absolutely. And I think every Kenyan should be excited.
Because, you know, many of us went there in 63, right? Many of us. So we don't know what it was like.
We don't remember if we even were there.
Yes.
So much has happened in between. So much has happened in between.
So this is huge.
Yes, this is big. This is really big. And that's why, I mean, the whole world is excited about it. I mean, you just have to go to the blogs, right? Yeah. Everybody's excited about it, not just the Kenyans in the diaspora, who obviously want their dual nationality.
They want it right away.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And when I was the director in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, I was both the director for Europe, but I was also the director for the diaspora and international jobs. And I went around the world talking to Kenyans abroad, and the one thing that they never failed to mention was that they wanted this issue of dual citizenship resolved as quickly as possible, because they didn't want to lose what they had gained by being part of another society, but they wanted to make direct contributions, right, to their home country, if you like. And so what they wanted to do was to have an opportunity to invest in the country, you know, just like any other Kenyan, and to bring back the experiences they'd gained, and of course the money that they had made, right, and invest right here. And it was an issue that I'd taken up several times with government and said, look, every time I go out there, Kenyans are happy to send money to the country, and you know the resources that we've received from the diaspora is huge.
Yeah, it's more than $1 billion, right?
Right.
US.
It's huge, huge. The remittances that we've had are huge, and so I mean this would be like giving something back to them, and they wanted to do more. They said, well, that's just the minimum that they could do mainly to support their folks back here. Yeah. But that if they were given an opportunity to participate equally as all other Kenyans, then they'd be willing to bring much more back in terms of not just capital but also technology.
Yeah. And now it's here, in the Constitution.
So I'd love to go back and tell them, look, now you have it. I want to see whether you're able to keep the promises that you made, right? Of injecting more capital, investing at home, bring your experiences back, and all that. So yes, so actually it's a constitution for everybody. Yeah. You know, for Kenyans here, for Kenyans abroad, for Kenyans that are alive today, even for those that are dead, and for those that will come after us.
Yes. Yeah. And like you were saying earlier on, Ambassador, we are setting the pace or the standards for the entire continent, aren't we? That's why we're getting, about a dozen heads of state or whatever. We are setting the standards.
Absolutely, absolutely. We're setting the standards. You just have to look at our Bill of Rights. It's the most advanced that there is in Africa. And really, I mean, I would stand to be corrected, but I don't think anybody would dare, because it's gone beyond anything else that anybody has. And it's gone in the right direction. I mean, it's avoided the issues that we're uncomfortable with. The issues that were being bandied around as actually being in the Constitution, whereas they were not. The issues of same-sex marriage and all that, we avoided that. South Africa has that, and yet we actually have a more advanced Bill of Rights than they have. You see. And I think many people will tell you this, that some of the rights, especially the economic social rights, are progressive rights. So I mean, we don't expect on Saturday morning to wake up and have access to affordable housing, for instance, or access to health facilities and the highest standards of health, as the Constitution says, or full access to education, for instance. These are issues that will take a little bit of time. In any case, we'll need to put legislation in place. We'll also need to deal with the issue of resources and make sure that we have the resources to progressively start implementing these rights.
Yeah.
But there are progressive rights everywhere in the world, you see. In fact, some of the rights we have here don't even exist in the US. The right to affordable housing doesn't exist in the US. The right to food doesn't exist in the US. The right to water, doesn't exist in the US. So in many of the developed countries, they don't even have these rights. Yeah? So we should consider ourselves as, pioneers in Africa, but also standing tall among other countries, including the developed countries.
Yeah. Okay, you were talking about Saturday, the hangover from Friday. There'll be a huge hangover on Saturday onwards. And like you said, people will be expecting stuff right away. And obviously there are about 49 bills that need to be legislated through Parliament. This is going to be a huge task.
Yeah.
Let's not kid ourselves.
Absolutely. And I think Kenyans should be prepared, right, to undertake this task. Nothing is for free. Nothing is for free. We'll all have to work hard. We'll all have to make, some effort. All of us. Nobody's going to be spared this. Because, like I said, this is a constitution for everybody. And the sovereignty, right, of Kenyans is guaranteed by this. So if you actually have been recognized as the supreme being in this constitution, then you must make a contribution. So everybody will have to pull up their socks. I mean, in order for us, for instance, to ensure that all these progressive rights are enjoyed, we'll all have to work harder. We'll have to make more money. We'll have to pay taxes. We can't continue evading, taxation.
Yeah.
And those that have not been paying taxes will have to start paying taxes. Because we have made promises. The promises are contained in this constitution, and the constitution is the supreme law of the land, and a constitution cannot be violated. If it is, right? If it is, you go to court, and you know what? You don't even have to pay court fees. It's for free. Yeah. If your rights are violated, right, you have the right under the constitution now to go without paying any fee.
Wow.
Okay?
Yeah.
So basically, this is a constitution that guarantees you your rights and allows you, right, access, to court if your rights are violated. But we must pull up our socks. We must all work hard. We must pay our taxes, right? And we must become good citizens because we have good laws. We have a proper legal framework for a change. Okay? So we all have to rise to the occasion, like we did on the 4th of August.
Yeah.
But we have to continue doing that. This is not a one-step process, right? It is a process. It's not an event. So we had one event when we met here after the committee of experts. It gave us the first draft. Do you remember?
Correct.
That's when we first met.
Yes.
And there was another event, right, when Parliament then, passed this constitution and then gave it to Kenyans, right, for consideration. We had another event when we had the referendum, right? We have another event coming up, which is the promulgation, which is obviously the most important of all this, plethora of events. But I think that it's a process. It's going to be a long process. The laws will be promulgated, they will be enacted in a period of 5 years, right? And it may even be longer because Parliament can extend the period, right? It can extend it by 1 year, no longer, okay? So it could be longer than 5 years, but at least we know we have a time frame within which to operationalize most of the constitution, okay? So like I'm saying, for the first time we have a proper framework to move the country forward, but it will not move forward unless each one of us pulls our, socks and works harder, right, and contributes to the development of this beautiful and wonderful country of ours.
All those years in the diplomatic service, the foreign service out there, are you happy to be here at this time and place?
I told you that before. I think that we were lucky. I told you before that the good God in his own wisdom planted me here. And I'm really glad that he did that because I think he planted me in the best country in the world. And I have talked to very, very many people who tell me that they come into Kenya and they actually feel a potential in this country for movement, for growth, for development that they don't feel anywhere else in the world. And I think mostly because we're extremely creative, we're very hardworking, but then 60% of our population is young. In fact, more than 60% is young. And if you have such a young population, then you're able to move mountains. You just need to provide a level playing field for it. You must provide opportunities, right? And a sense of direction, because youth deserve a sense of direction. So you just need to point them in the right direction.
Yeah.
So yes, I still believe that I'm in the best country in the world, and I think you believe that too.
Oh, 101%.
That's why you're sitting here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Speaking of youth, your teenage daughter, is she proud of this moment? Is she proud to be in this Kenya?
Oh yes, she was part of the process as well. She had a blog, and she interviewed people. And the blog is called Badili.
Badili.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she interviewed lots of youth. And she actually used to, she gave access to her site to the committee of experts, so that they could use it to see what the youth were saying about the constitution, about the process. So she was very much part of this process.
Like mother, like daughter.
Well, I don't know about that. I hope she'll be much better and she'll do much more. Yeah. For the country and for her fellow Kenyans than I ever will be able to do. So yeah. So the youth have a heavier responsibility than we do. We have done our bit. We have given them a constitution. Hopefully, in our lifetime, we'll make sure that all the laws are enacted and that we start them off on a good footing. But they also have the responsibility to make sure that it works and that they work hard and that they actually are deserving of this country and of this constitution.
Yeah. And for you personally, Ambassador, the promulgation and beyond, how would you describe it?
Well, I think it's been described perfectly well as a second rebirth of the nation. And I think nobody could describe it any better than that. Yeah. But I think again, I think we've risen to the occasion and we have done what was expected of our generation. And so we should be, proud, but we should also be humble, I think. We should all be humbled by what, Wanjiku has done, right? And the fact that she has surprised and shocked, everybody, because she actually knew what she wanted, you see. So I think we should all be humbled and do our best for Wanjiku so that she can enjoy the fruits of her labor.
Well, you're so humble and so modest as well.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you
Ambassador.
very much.
Great job.
Thanks.
Well done and congratulations. Yeah. It's reality now. Ambassador Amina Mohamed, PS Justice, Constitutional Affairs and National Cohesion Ministry. This is their baby and it's about to happen. The rendezvous with history is literally days away. Friday, August the 27th, the promulgation. And then the real work begins. As the ambassador says, it's going to take the efforts of every one of us, 40 million Kenyans, to move this country forward. She started it, they've started it, and we're all part of the team. Let's play ball. Wow, what a guest, what a show. What a week it's turning out to be. Beauty and brains on the bench. She says, my goodness, it's true. And we're moving forward because of people like the ambassador, Betty Murungi, others. Women, I keep saying, are the future of this nation. And you cannot find them anywhere else but right here, on the bench, on the award-winning station, K24. Where, as always, we are, even in times of beauty and brains, we are all Kenyan.
All the time.
I made you blush. Capital Talk is recorded at the Fairview Hotel, the country hotel in town.